it's a weird. You had a jam session. It was crazy. I thought it was crazy. I don't know about. I'm not a musician or anything, but well, I found it was pretty tight. So the first event that you're going to have is in Cafe Morrison, and are you pepped up for it? Are you interested? I mean, you're all regulars in the Delhi scene, and then what do you expect out of this event?
It's been about roughly 4 years since we've been making music. We never came out with a track publicly. All these tracks that you heard, you're probably hearing them for the first time. Tracks we made over a period of time. Some of these tracks we made within 2 hours, and then and then it went through changes. So as a band or as an entity per se, this is our first gig ever. We've all played with our respective bands. I've played with Artillery, he's played with Lycanthropia and the likes. He's played with his own set of bands. But as an entity, we've never really gone on stage to see how things turn out or what can be, is our material, how should I put it, interesting enough for the rest of the world.
In your face.
Yeah, that too. That's what she said.
So, Spear of Destiny. I know the story behind the origins of the Spear of Destiny, but why that?
Origins here? Okay.
Go for it.
Yeah, please do that.
Constantine.
Oh my god, that's
Yeah, actually, I was looking for a band name. Looking for a band name, and I wanted biblically, and I came up with a name called Resurrection, but I've called it like dude, Demonic Resurrection. I'm really sorry.
I'm kind of. I'm the overbearing.
I got pissed off and I got pissed off. Like my sister was watching Constantine that time, and he got a dagger, and the scene comes. It's Spear of Destiny. Spear of Destiny. That's it.
Okay.
I called him. Nice name.
We're back to normal. We're back in business now.
Yeah.
So your major influences? I mean,
Varied, very varied. I mean,
I would like individual opinions on this.
okay, my influences vary from an extremely wide spectrum because compared to him, I'm fairly new in the scene. He's been playing for a lot longer than I have. I think my only so-called claim to fame is playing with a band called Artillery. That's pretty much it. But having said that, I have influences that come from that style of music. I used to play with a rock and roll band, so it comes from that too. I have played with a white straighter, played new metal, played funk, played old school metal, played classic rock, I've played folk rock. So my influences vary from time to time. I mean, even now, if you ask me to pinpoint that what is my what style would I imitate, I can't really give you an idea. Of course, there's a lot of Chris Adler in my playing. That's pretty much all I can say. There's a lot of Chris Adler in my playing. There's a lot of. I won't go as far as saying George Polius in my playing, but he's been that range of drummers has been pretty influential as far as blast go. Because when I moved into this style of music, I realized that, and I know I'm gonna get a lot of hate mails for this. Very few drummers in Delhi could actually pull off a blast, especially at that time. Now you have an entire world who can play blast. But when it came down to when we started off as a band, there were, I would say, apart from Ruben from Third Sovereign in Delhi, I mean, there were hardly any people who could play a blast consistently and properly. Very few. And I worked with Ruben for a while. We used to teach in the same school. So again, when you came back to influences, that's another influence because he brought another facet of playing, which I incorporated into my own. Because I'm not really a straight go-to death metal guy. I want my music to have breaks. I want my music to have runs, to have grooves, to have something which interests the crowd as well, apart from just a lot of snare hits. So yeah, that's my influence. And where we found a common point was essentially, like most people did, was Lamb God. That time, mind you, that time, which again went on to say Oxbone's Red. We heard that, we were like, okay, we have to try this. Meshuggah was always there, we never tried playing it. we
tried actually.
We worked on NMCC. I have a mental block, so whatever. But having said that, now we moved on to other influences like Despite Liking is one.
Ion Dissonance.
Ion Dissonance is another, which is his. I mean, I'm not entirely into that band yet, but it is his major influence. But how we, and that probably reflects a lot in our music as well. Because not only are we influenced by a particular style of playing, we're also influenced by the kind of songwriting that those people do. There's a lot of, the guitars and the drums are essentially locked in.
All the time.
All the time. There is no part that you will find where the guitars and the drums are not locked in. Or the drums is playing a different groove apart from the guitar. That we never came from that school of thought. We may just try it, but we're not sure.
So, I mean, most of you guys are on a regular day job. How do you balance your music skills with it, man? That's the most painful thing I feel. I mean, you just told me you're in a PR firm. You do teach music.
I have 3 day jobs. I have 3 day jobs.
Oh my god.
I work in a PR agency. I am, I would say, an apprentice level martial arts instructor now, getting into it. I'm not that good enough for this. So no fighting. That, and I teach music as well. Plus I keep taking up freelance projects. So as far as I'm concerned, how do I make time for this is a question you should not ask me, because I'm probably going to end up screaming my heart out. So I think you can ask these two.
Basically, I chose teaching. I was, apart from when I started with Like Infropia, I was in IT. IT background, because I worked for Religare as IT executive till I did. And because of my love for music, I just actually resigned my job and come totally be a musician. So that's why I chose teaching, so I get ample amount of time to practice with this guy and my bandmates.
I'm tough not to work with.
Yeah, I know.
My work folks tell me the same thing, he doesn't.
Okay, so another thing, the Delhi scene, the Indian metal scene.
Oh boy.
Is it a basic question, very cliched up, and I'd like your views. I want to see you tell me the bad things about it, the good things, everything, the whole works.
Okay, what do you want me to start with?
I don't want to take. I don't want.
Go with the bad. Actually, I'm going to take a reverse on that. I'm going to start with the good so that you see the pretty picture and then you actually see the close up. Okay, we've had a lot of bands coming in this year. You've got Megadeth coming, you've got Gojira, you got Testament, you got Periphery, you got Slayer, you got a host of international acts coming to India. I'm not going to say that, to India specifically. So obviously, in pure marketing terms, because this is something that everyone needs to understand, we're a growing market. For a lot of bands, we're a growing market because of, I would say, the entire pool of information that we have now. Everything is extremely accessible. The band's music is accessible, the videos are accessible, the bands themselves are accessible. and having them come here makes you feel that okay, now we have some good music coming in, and it's an opportunity for a lot of Indian bands to actually showcase their talent, with those people. But here's where the problem is: the buck stops there, right there. You have very few bands that have gone out of the country to actually play. Blind Image was one that went to Malaysia, but DR was another that tried. They went to South. Signima went to
Pendulum, Scribe,
Bhayanak Maut,
Undying King.
Now, here's the catch. These are, I'm guessing, 10 bands out of roughly 1,000 in the country, and I'm being
very good bands.
I'm giving a rough estimate here, and these are excellent bands. That does not mean that the other bands are not that good. They were just at the right, I won't say they were just at the right place at the right time. They obviously put in a lot of effort. It shows. I mean, all of these bands that we're talking about are up there, literally up there. And I have been lucky enough to share the stage with a lot of them, and I see the point as to why they have been able to reach there. But the kind of effort they had to put in to even reach there, and I'm not talking about as far as music is concerned, but even fighting for their own visas. DR was denied their visa, even for a concert, which is very recently it happened. And even with all these good things happening, you don't really have a focus on Indian bands per se. You don't have a Roadrunner coming to India and hiring and taking bands on their labels. Fine. Basic Records just took up Sky Harbor, which is good, which is great. Basic Records is, I would say, a mid-level record label compared to a Roadrunner. Very basic facts here. I know a lot of people would hate me for this, but again,
it's true. I guess. I mean, the facts are facts. You can't deny them.
Exactly. So you've got an Undying INC which deserves a Roadrunner label. You've got a Bhayanak Maut which also deserves a high-end label, even a Metal Blade for that matter. But none of these bands are actually getting that.
So where do you think is the problem?
Problem is in a lot of factors actually. See, first thing is when we play here, and I think the problem starts here. A lot of the bands that play here, even though they're trying to be consistent, they're trying to get gigs on their own. No one's actually coming up to them and asking them to play. And even if they're asking them to play, there are X number of negotiations, processes. We want it this way, we want it this way, could you do it this way, could you adjust, could you do this, could you do that? I mean, case in point, we just had the Slayer debut, and something as simple as giving the artists food was denied to them because the organizer just picked up their hands and said, I've never given anyone food a day. Because we, obviously our fault, we based it on common sense. But seeing something like this, you actually feel that okay, you have to treat everyone like an idiot and keep everything in writing. Your contracts need to be there. That's one problem. The second problem is you've got zero sponsors. I mean, there are bands that have brilliant albums, but they're not selling because they don't have a solid sponsor behind them. Aggressive World Dynasty sold X copies, but was never really out there. Erratified was a free to download album because we didn't have a sponsor, and so many other factors are involved. I mean, mostly the investment that a band is putting in, the band is putting in. They probably don't even earn that much, right? So a lot of these factors, I would say, even though the scene is growing, it's a snail pace. Something that could have grown probably 10 times more had people actually opened their eyes and seen, okay, this is actually a growing market. And if you treat it like a growing market, you have a number of people that are coming in.